Matthew? All right. What we're going to talk about today is power. What is power? Who can tell me what power is? What's your idea of power? Yes.
Ruling over something.
Ruling over something. Good. What do you think?
Control over something.
Control. What do you think, man?
Authority.
Authority. Yes.
Control over people.
Control over people, specifically
Like a king.
a king. A king certainly has power, but do you have to be a king to have power?
No.
No. Who else can have power? What could be a source of power?
If you fear somebody.
Fear is absolutely a source of power. Remember we talked about ISIS? They rule by fear, right? Matthew? A generator. That's another type of power. The power you're talking about is a scientific source of power. Power for that is the ability to do work. That is a scientific definition. But what we're talking about here is powers like authority, all right? So, now, we also said a king can have power, but also, you understand this as 12, 11-year-olds, you understand that people can have power. Everyday people can have power. Now, I want you to imagine. Use your imagination. Stay with me. Back in elementary school. Back in elementary school, your teacher had to leave the room. And when she did, she asked for a student to come up to the front, right? And they put your name on the board, right?
Yes.
Who's had that happen? Raise your hand. Yeah, that's good. We know that. Look, I went to school a few years before you did. They did this when I was in school. They still do it. And I'll bet you just like it was for me, that guy was a jerk. Was he a jerk?
Yes.
Yeah, he was a jerk. What did he do? What did this guy do that had this little bit of power? Who came up here? What did he do?
He didn't write up his friends and he wrote up everybody else.
Yes.
He did not write up his friends, but he probably did not write up people who were popular, right? He probably didn't write up, maybe if it's a guy, he probably didn't write up girls, did he?
No.
If it's a guy. If it's a girl, he'll write up other girls. But you get the idea. How did you feel when they did this?
Betrayed.
Betrayed. He felt betrayed. How did you feel, Taco?
Fuck.
What? That sounds bad. I'm going to go with that. So we didn't like that. Now, the thing is, we have a natural instinct to defend our rights. As Americans, we take it for granted. I could ask you what your rights are when you're arrested. I bet most of you could rattle them off because we've always had them, and it's part of who we are. But listen, that hasn't always been the case. That hasn't always been the case in history. Used to, the people had absolute power, right? So they didn't know that. Now, let's go to our example here. This person writing it on the board. What if we could go back in time to this point and say what kind of rules or what kind of things could we do differently with this process where a student or students could do this, but they would be more fair. They'd be less likely to abuse this power. What could we do differently, Taco?
They can write their friend's name.
Okay, but we have to make it like a rule. What would be a rule that would cause them to be more fair? Right, Matthew? Have a boy and a girl. So that's like, but what's the problem there? Just have a boy and a girl.
The boys will be writing up the girls and the girls will be writing up the boys.
Okay, so that's a good idea, but can we improve on that? Shape.
Yes, because if you use this could be a rule. If you write somebody else that's talking, but if you don't write your friend up, you also would get over it.
Okay, so there can be consequences. We have something like with our president. If our president doesn't do what he's supposed to do, he can be impeached. So you can have penalties. If they are unfair, if they abuse his power, they can have penalties under our government. A president can be impeached
By the Congress.
oh, excellent, by the Congress. And so impeachment would be a penalty for abusing power. What else could we do to make sure the student doesn't abuse his authority? Corbin. That's true, and that's a. But what we want to do, we want the students to self-govern. But we don't want a dictator. We want the students to try to figure this out making rules for them, right? Because that's kind of a natural thing, is just get somebody with more authority, right? We want our students to be able to, so what kind of rules can we make, Skylar? Would you repeat? We're having rudeness happening on this side. Go
Whatever
ahead.
the classmates can't do, she or he can't do. Like,
Okay, they share in the punishment. They would share punishment. I'd have to think about that for a second. Share the punishment. I'm not sure where that would fit into. It's an idea. I have to think about it. That's kind of creative. What you came up with is a creative idea that I'm not sure how to fit into what I'm going to lead to. Carly?
you could probably do people that really like, they're not really friends, but they're like acquaintances.
How you gonna choose these people or whatever? How
Well,
you?
you got a dark one really like, I don't know.
Okay. What? Keep cooking that idea a little bit, Chloe.
Okay, so you can get like the classmates' opinions on who was wrote down. And,
The
like,
classmates. All right. How am I going to do the classmates' opinion?
You just like ask them.
Okay. Okay. What would that be like? I need 35 opinions. So how would I get 35 people's opinion on? Let's say, well, look, so and so Ted got written up. I've got 35 students. How am I going to get their opinion as to whether he should be written up or not?
How?
Huh? It's a simple. Starts with a V.
Vote.
Vote. Vote. We'll just all vote. Hey, he put Timmy's name up there. Is he guilty? We all vote. All right? That's how a group of people can rule. That is called democracy, right?
Okay, what's the difference between democracy and republic?
We're going to get that in just a second. Now, what I want you to see is these ideas. This is what our founding fathers were struggling with. They need a way to govern this country. And so they didn't want, just like this student will abuse power, they didn't want any person to abuse power in their government. So this is what they're struggling with. So here's the thing. Here's the bottom line. This Constitution, what it does is basically what we've described here. It is a structure that helps our government make decisions, but it limits the power. Now, where we had two, a boy and a girl, here, they split the power up. Once they split it, we talked about the other day, they gave some of the power to the states. They gave other powers to the national government because they realized power is the root of evil. It's the power. It's not the people. It's the power. So we got to split it up. Don't let this guy have power by himself. All these things you did right here were limiting his power. Kaylee? That's what this Constitution does. By splitting it up, these are the kind of things. So we split it once between the national and the state governments, and then we split, that wasn't enough, we split it again between the legislative, executive, and judicial. Now having three branches, how does that help making a decision with that number, that three? The problem you're going to have here with just two, what is solved by having three branches? Yes?
Okay, you can't have you can't have like an equal vote, like.
No ties.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. With three, you don't have a tie. And what they do with these three branches is they check and balance each other. If any one of these branches doesn't go along with it, there's ways of them stopping and fighting against a certain decision. So that creates, all of them have to work together rather than one group or one person or one group. It creates a situation they have to work together. All right? And so what we've done, what we tried to do in this classroom to make this more fair is the same thing that our government did under the Constitution. It said power is a root of all evil. We have to break it up so no one person or one group can have too much power. All right, Lee.